So 5 essentials. And the little head is turning again. I love that little one. So my intention, your takeaways, what's the issue, know which brain is leading you, what responsibilities. Still we touch back on a little bit evolutionary biology, so everybody's on the same page. One brain dominance, etc. Who am I? For people who don't know me, clinical supervisor and mentor for ICF. So I mentor and supervise ACCs, PCCs, MCCs, and people who like to become an ACC or PCC. Executive coach, and as I said, I'm an MCC. I'm a clinical psychiatrist, hypnotherapist. So I will make this joke now. Didn't suggest in the moment I ask you to close your eyes, you should really open your eyes. And the more you open your eyes, you will more relaxed. The more you get relaxed, the more you get in a hypnotic state. Kidding. Yeah, but I helped a lot of people as a therapist from psychiatry, psychotherapy, and hypnotherapy to solve their issues from a different way. Yeah, what I didn't write down, I'm a Reiki master, NLP master, did constellations, did kineology, did many things, or learned many things with one objective: what is making us tick? What is making us change? And what do I don't know? What is still out there? What could help us? I'm a visiting professor at the business school here in Madrid. Got now 30 years of experience, saw 12,000 people in small groups or in one-to-ones. And as I said, I'm the founder. As you can see in the picture, I wrote 2 books about it. So I always say that's the cheapest solution to know more about it. Why did I write those books? Because in my opinion, if you know that we have 3 brains and what their roles are and how they influence our life, you can make your lives and other lives much better. And by the way, also have healthy relationships. And because most people divorce not because they really have an issue, but somewhere they chose, quote, quote, the wrong partner or communicate not in the right one. So to go on, because I have a lot of things to cover. And this is the same question as yesterday, only with other things. Just to make everybody who did not follow the neuroscience of the 3 brains, how many times did you say to somebody, just follow your heart? How many times did you say to somebody, just follow your gut feeling? Or regretted the decision and said, you know, I should have followed my logic, my heart, or my gut. Why do I always ask this question in every presentation I do? Because what does it actually mean when we say that? It's one of the most normal things to say to people. But if you ask people, what does it really mean when you say that? Which wisdom should they follow? Which criteria is making that heart feeling or the gut feeling decisions? People look at you from like fire, like water is burning, and actually don't know. But it has a lot of wisdom in them. But we do it without knowing actually what we say we're doing. And that also sparked my interest 8 years ago when I really came aware of, oh, a lot of people are waiting to join. Oh, missed that one. And now joining. And so what does it actually mean when we say that? I will keep the participants open so I see if they like to join. And we all had it sometimes. We had issues with, and we said also yesterday, procrastination, eating unhealthy, setting boundaries, communication of hard decisions, or having both bad news talks with employees or colleagues, or maybe even partners or kids. Having depressions or anxieties. Who never had these issues? And then always I see everybody sitting down, so now I had one of those, or maybe I still have them or still do them. But if you now think about it, how logical is it to do this? No, it's totally not logical. Our logical mind would say it's not smart to do so. But somewhere, even though we know, we do. That means actually that maybe our head is not in charge. Because if our head says it's not smart, we should not do it, but we are still doing it. then the question is actually, who inside in us is in charge of making these quote, quote, bad decisions? Now, and that really sparked me to come and over, hey, for the body keeps the score, actually also the three brains, we have some wisdom centers inside us that can make a change. For the people who followed yesterday, nothing new to now. But knowing,
sorry, Christoffel, there are background noises. Can you please mute everybody, or asking everybody to mute the mic?
your wish is my command. Did it right away. And thank you for notifying me, because I was also hearing something but could not put my finger on it. So thank you so much for saying so. And of course, if somebody has a question or something else, please unmute yourself. Eh? So which brain is leading us? So just imagine for a moment. You are now a manager of a team. You have 10 employees. The company you work for is making a severe loss, and there's an urgent need to take action. All your employees have the same level of competences. I know this example is not totally real life, because some things I left out. So otherwise it will be a 10-page document. So just imagine this is all true. And the board, in all their wisdom, makes a decision to give you some options where you can choose from how to handle this. Because 5 employees has to be made redundant. So the first thing they say is, you're allowed to let go of the 5 older employees. What does it mean? It's the best choice for production, as they say. That's why we say it to you. And the job is really physical, so it's smart to let the 5 older people go. And the only consequence is, based on their age, they will probably never find a job again. It will have a severe negative effect on their income and their finances. But that's how life is. The second option they provide you is say, on the other hand, you can also let go of the 5 younger employees. That's okay. Probably they will find a job easily based on their age and experience, and everybody has a job. So even though you sack them, everybody has a job. They say you can also do the LIFO concept. Yeah, we heard it's rather popular. Last in, first out. It's not age related. 5 employees have worked already for more than 15 years for the company. 5 others entered the last 2 years because they thought the company would grow like broccoli. It means for you that your team has 3 older employees and 2 younger employees. The last thing they say okay, if you like, you can also discuss it with your team first, and maybe there are some volunteers. And we still have some money, so we can give them a decent compensation. Whatever it is. I know this is not the perfect world, and I know these 4 maybe have 5 other kind of ideas what could be there. But let's stick to these 4 options. Now's the question. I will invite you to put it in the chat, because that's fun. Which choice would you make? Will you choose A, B, C, or D? And by the way, I know what your answer will be. You're so predictable. So boring.
So predictable.
You're so predictable. It's so boring. Kidding.
Da capo
As
non
people
quella
know
è
from
l'ultima cosa che fai, secondo me. Da capo è l'ultima cosa che fai.
As people know me from yesterday, I'm Dutch, and I like to provoke people, because we Dutch are rude. We say what we think without even thinking. And so a lot of times we say stupid things. Now, so I'm really typical Dutch, born and raised in Amsterdam, so excuse me for that one. But also I know the moment I provoke people, they will never forget it. So thank you for all your answers, beauties, and amazing ones. Because why I was so extremely obnoxious to say, I know what your answer is boring, because most coaches have a big heart brain or are dominant in their head brain. And what did I find out in more than 3,000 tests? This. 90% of the heart and head brain dominant people will choose C and D. Now, if you look in the chat, everybody did that. I did not find an A or an B in there. So that's why I say it's so boring. If I do this in, say, a business, and I have a production manager and a finance manager there, do you know what they say? The production manager said, could you read the line above that orange box? You let go of the 5 older employees, which is the best choice for production. By the way, we make a severe loss and there's an urgent need to take action. So maybe I'm just a production director, but what don't you understand, people of this case? And then a lot of production managers say something behind that sentence I will not say now. But you can imagine there's some judgment in there about their current team members. And so most gut-dominant people will choose for A because it's all about survival. Now, that's not so important. What is more important, how easily can you change? How easily can you now say, I'm going to promote A? And just come aware what happens in your own mind and body. What kind of beliefs you're now hitting. Because even though logically what I say maybe makes sense, it will probably be hard for a lot of people to change now. Because their belief systems or your belief system stop you. So maybe he's right, that dickhead, Christopher. But it doesn't feel good. You don't do that. It's not fair. Laura, you're totally right. It's not fair. Yes, maybe good for short term, but necessarily not for long term. Dear Craig, if you don't do the short term, there is no long term. I'm a commercial engineer. Just trust me. I studied finance also. Please don't trust me, eh? I'm just kidding you. I'm just provoking you to make these discussions, because these are discussions I have in management teams, or they have in management teams together. And as I said, this is not real life. It's actually hard. Yeah, that is, H is the best option for ageism. You're so right, Craig. I made it somewhere. I put an emotional charge in the option A. So the option A doesn't sound fair anymore. I know I manipulated all of you. That's what we Dutch love to do, by the way, and also coaches love to do. Like, the most important thing is actually the white line here. How easily can you change? And that's what I see also in management teams, that almost nobody is willing to change position. The HR director stays with C and D because that's the most fair decision. The finance director, production manager stay for A. They look at the CEO if it's really so stupid that he doesn't understand that part. The CEO thinks, oh shit, how do I keep my management team somewhere alive and keeping it one team? Chris, what did you do for me? You said team synergy. Now it's team breaking. And the other department somewhere choose whatever it is. But why is it so important, this part? Become aware that logic is not always overrunning our belief systems. And secondly, we are all coaches. And I would just make for one moment this black so we don't see it for a moment. So if we are having issues with change and we are coaches, we are the top of the top. We do so much self-development. We do so much self-reflections. We are in supervision, mentoring groups, talk about our own vulnerabilities and all this kind of stuff. If we have an issue with change, what does it mean for all the people who coach, who are actually not so smart as us and so self-development as us, and don't do so much self-reflection? How easy is then, or how difficult is it then for them? Actually, extremely hard. Hence, if we think only about logic, 9 out of 10 change is not happening. And I always say, if you don't believe me, become really hungry and then start doing shopping in your mall and come aware what you put in your basket. 9 out of 10 is not always the healthy stuff, but it's the Mars, the Snickers, and other kind of stuff. And I see Livia nodding really hard from yes, you know me when I do my shopping. I don't know, Livia, how you do your shopping, but I know how I am in doing my shopping when I'm hungry. I really have to tie my hands almost together when I see all the savories and sweets. So
The conclusion being, don't go out for shopping when you're hungry.
No. Don't go out for shopping when you're depressed, but you come home with the wrong clothes or with expensive clothes. And don't do it when you're anxious because you buy something without thinking about it. Hey, just go there well-fed with a coffee or a tea when you're totally at ease. It saves your wallet from a lot of pain. So what we could see, and that's what based on my test of 3,500 people now of coaches and executives. So really executives, so the board members or board members, the N-1, but we somewhere have a different setup. It's beautifully said, Michelle. I'm going probably to copy that in my own from my own things. If we cannot change, we cannot believe in our clients' ability to change. Wow. That's a beauty. I'm going to copy that one and use it later on with your permission, please. Yeah, so we as coaches,
Of course.
thank you so much. We as coaches have a big heart brain and a big head brain. Meaning we're more dominant in that part. On average, it doesn't mean for everybody. Most of our clients have actually a bigger gut brain and also a big head brain. And that makes sense because if you like to become top executive, top sporter, number one, you need a gut brain. A gut brain makes you number one. And there is no top sporter who doesn't have a big gut brain. And then now the Giro is busy. And for people think, what's the Giro? That's the cycling race in Italy. And I'm Dutch, so we love to cycle. And you will see they do everything to become number one. There is no social comparison. Oh, by the way, last time I beat you, so maybe it's fair that you win now. That thought is not happening in those cycle races. It's about me, myself, and I. And that's a gut brain. And it is extremely good if you want to be number one. But it doesn't help you to be social. So what happens a lot of times in our own coaching, what is happening? We have a mismatch. And we also know from the ICF core competences, having rapport or a good connection with your client is really essential. And so we have to be aware our values or thought processes could be different than that from our clients. And what we think is important, maybe they don't think at all what is important. So it gives us the advantage to help them because we see it differently. At the other hand, it also gives the disadvantage that we could be disconnected. And it could take a lot of energy from us to stay connected with the client who thinks differently. It could deliver poor results or being blocked or drained. And so creating that awareness that we could be different helps you to accept actually the difference. Like if the production manager says, Chris, we're going for A, and I personally also think A is not the best option, although I sell it rather beautiful in this little thing, then I just accept his position because he thinks from a production perspective. He doesn't think what you said correctly from the long-term perspective. He just looks at the text literally and thinks, hey, text says A, so we do B. We do A, text says A, we do A. Makes sense. So that is there. And we all know employee engagement is critical as coaches. But what do we see actually, and that's why I'm going to kick your beautiful asses in a gentle way, if you allow me, that actually the last 10 years we did not make a lot of progress as coaches, consultants, and all the other people. Does different than clients help give a different perspective? Yes, Terna, you're so right. Because we see it differently. In our powerful questions, we could ask the question that is not obvious for them. We don't have to say, by the way, you make a wrong decision choosing A, it should be D, because on that moment we're not coaches anymore, but we become consultants. But we can ask, okay, you choose for A. I wonder what could be the advantage of choosing D. And they could say, I don't see an advantage. Okay, let's say there would be an advantage. What could it be? And I start at least thinking from a different perspective. If you like to guide them to that way. Or to make it more really ICF compatible with all the core competencies, you don't steer them to D. We say, okay, you choose for A, that's perfectly all right. But what kind of other alternatives could there be? Long-term or short-term, if you think wider than just production. And you can come up with new ideas. And that's our role as a coach also, to create awareness, to think outside the box. Because most of our clients are somewhere in their own box. So we like to help them to get out of their box. About the last 10 years, actually, if you look at all the research, engagement is not really so doing massively better. You can say, oh, it went from 26 to 32. Wow, that is 20% better. It's still 1 out of 3. That's really not something you would be proud of. And globally, it's even worse. But of course, also there are countries engaged in that, no, are even worse than the United States. It's hard to believe, but it is true. This is from the Gallup organization, for the people who think, where's the statistics coming from? And the blue line is for companies who really follow the Gallup organizational advices. So what they describe in the book, Good to Great, first break all the rules, how you find employee engagement happening. And so what are we actually missing? Or what is maybe Gallup doing right, doing great? I don't know who read the book From Good to Great or First Break All the Rules. I like the sentence of the second one. But you see actually advices that hit 3 brains there. Why is it so important? Because we also know that high performers are 8 times as productive as average performers. And you can see that everywhere. And every manager or leader will say that's so true. And the Gallup organization would say, first choose the right people, and then choose in which kind of position they are. And if they go for choose the right people. In the same engagement, and this is from McKinsey coming, they say 25 of the respondents say actually their leaders are engaged, passionate, inspiring. And so the people we coach, you could say, oh wow, there's still a lot of work to do. There's so much potential for us. There's so much sales and business for us. If you look at these statistics, we're almost hitting a gold mine if we do the right things. And what are, in my opinion, the right things? It's actually coaching in the same way, only different. I showed this yesterday, and I just showed again. McKinsey, Boston Consultants Group, Accenture, we have a success rate less than 40%. Thank you, Leonie, for your newsletter. I click it on. Oh, should not do that.
Thank you.
Should not do that too loud, because now we come aware almost, I jump right away to a different screen. Psychologists have a score of almost 35%, coaching 55%, hypnotherapy 55%, repetition actually 6%. And success rate is extremely successful if you do it, but most people don't do it. As people know who followed me yesterday, 2 months ago, I had a heart valve replacement surgery. Of course, I had the same as my dad, a heart valve that was not really functioning properly, because 3 of the leads were fused together. So only 40% of the blood flow came through. But my beautiful surgeon said, you know, I have a 99.9% of success rate of the surgeries. Only 0.1% goes wrong after the surgery or during the surgery. I said, but looking at you, Chris, you're not one of those. Those people have 40 kilos too much, are smoking, are drinking, and eating so much unhealthy that the blood pressure is going through the roof. You don't have all of this, so you're in the 99.9%. Why do I put it in? Because actually, I'm also shocked that we as coaches have the half of the success rate of that surgeon. Now, yesterday, it was life coaching, Julia. Then there was here a little word before coaching, it was life coaching. Life coaching is even worse. Yesterday, I put that, so there's nothing, I just changed life coaching and coaching based on the statistics that are there. Because I have a huge list of all the things. So, what are we doing wrong, all of us? And that's a question I ask myself a lot of times. And as you know, I'm 30 years as a coach. Only the last 8 years I stumbled onto the 3 brains. The last 4 or 5 years I'm really active in it. So that you could say 26 years I was part of this. So there's no blame to anybody. Don't get me wrong, there's no blame to anybody. Because we're educated in an amazing, but also in an amazing wrong way, or not complete way. And as Einstein loved to say, insanity is keeping doing the same thing again and again and again and hoping for a different result. And actually, I just stepped out of a coaching, and that person knew she was doing wrong, but could not change it. Because actually her whole gut system was stopping it because she was actually running into a burnout. And she didn't have any energy anymore to make any logical decisions. But the moment we activated her gut, actually the answer came within 2 minutes. And it was really amazing because I was actually coaching somebody who was doing the coaching or mentoring the person who was doing the coaching. And after 1 hour somewhere he was stuck. And I just say, may I interfere? And I just ask, okay, blah, blah, blah. How could we instruct the gut brain or the gut? And when she instructed her gut and gave the answer, it was totally clear. And it was, quote, quote, we knew the solution in 5 minutes. It was just amazing to see. Because we stayed in the logical sphere, primarily. So people who saw it yesterday, they know this. But just for the people who know, this is the only biology I'm going to share. Up to 30 years ago, we believed this was true, the Triune brain, as they called it. You can still find it and Google it if you do Triune brain. Triune, 3 brains. And you'll become aware that then they say evolutionary, we first had the reptilian brain, then 200 million later, we got an emotional brain, and another 200 million years later, we got the mammal brain. Laura, I come back to that later. How do we activate someone's gut or heart? And so stay with me, please. But it is totally wrong, this one, because actually the crocodiles or the dinosaurs had already in their DNA the setup for having a limbic brain and a neocortex brain, and actually had a thin layer of that. So our evolutionary explanation was not there anymore. So there had to be something different if reptiles could have the same as us. And then you see already Michael Gershon standing there in my little resources. He gave somewhere 30 years in the Western science the solution. What was the solution? Partly that is this living creature in the sea. And for the people who know it from yesterday, you can still give the answer because you help all the others. What is this? It's a living creature. You can find it in the sea. I'm always astonished how people love to follow. Yes, a sea cucumber, Sunil. Thank you for giving the answer. It's a sea cucumber. What is now special about the sea cucumber? Because it has two things not we humans have. Now more actually, because also doesn't have arms and legs. But if you look, say, in this little sea cucumber, inside, 2 things are missing. What we have. And if the answer stays too long, then Sunil, yes, thank you so much. A heart and a brain, and a heart and a brain. You're so freaking right, eh? So this living creature can live without a heart and a brain. So if you say that to yourself, what kind of conclusion could you make of that? That there are living creatures out there that does not need a heart or it does not need a brain. So then how important is actually the gut, the heart, and the head? And maybe which one is the most important? Like we humans cannot live without a heart and a head. Eh? Let's make that clear. The French Revolution proved so right. If you chop a head off, we don't live anymore. And the Mayas already showed us if you pull the heart out, we also don't live anymore. And so we don't need that proof. But actually, we could say, and that's actually also true, we all come from this kind of organism. Our gut system is the primary thing that we are built on. Absolutely, it depends if you just like to survive or thrive and enjoy life. That's why we need 3 brains. And this is more about, say, the hierarchy of our 3 brains. How do we make decisions? And our gut brain is actually, from our tongue to where we sit on, is actually our primary skeleton we are built on. Every living creature on this earth has a digestive system. Absolutely, and most brain fogs come from autoimmune diseases, which come from a gut problem. Elsa, you're so right. Most chronic diseases also come from there. Parkinson is actually an issue with your gut bacteria and your gut system. Alzheimer's, some are the same, and they originate from your gut system. They're already proved. And most autoimmune systems are actually originating from the gut system. Where is actually our immune system located for 90% at least? In our gut. I have Hashimoto. It sounds like a Chinese food to me, because I really don't know what it is. Excuse me for that, Elsa. Okay. Thank you so much for your second explanation. Yes, and it is actually also originating from your gut system. Sorry for making a joke about it, but if you cannot make jokes, life is not good. Say that, and I said it yesterday. After I was lying, say after my surgery, after my heart surgery, I made the decision to have fun every day and to laugh every day. And it's laughing about myself and laugh about other kind of other things. Anxiety, we come back later to that. That is an overactive gut system who's afraid. That's a fear system in your gut system that's too long. Having said this, so your gut, we're all originating from that. So for the biology, I would say connect with the neuroscience of the 3 brains. There's still a webinar tonight, or you can just email me and I can even send you a recording for that. Let's go back. Let's go to the coaching part. What's the responsibility of our gut brain? It's actually to stay alive, what already was said in the chat. For Laura said it, and is creating actually, how does it do that? By personal success or safety? It's me first. How do you notice that your gut brain is active? You get fear, anger, rage, lust, desire, hunger, or disgust. Anxiety is another word for fear. Almost. No, actually it is true. Because you're anxious, fearful for what's going to happen. Your heart brain also likes to keep us alive, only it does it by bonding. Almost all the neurotransmitters are done by the gut brain except one, and that is oxytocin. Oxytocin is in the heart. Oxytocin is the bonding neurotransmitter. And how do we feel, or how do we become aware of our heart that is in action? Love, compassion, persuasiveness, hate, sadness, guilt, shame. And you could say the values of good and wrong are connected with your heart. Because your gut brain doesn't think in good and wrong. Your gut brain thinks in me and me. Lose and win. And we come back to the next slide. Your heart, your head also likes to keep us alive. And what is... Yes, and you're so right, Learning. Anxiety emerges from chronic fear. Yes, couldn't say it better. Your head also likes to keep us alive, only it does it by giving us the right prediction. What should we do? That's why we have such a big memory system to make an analysis. I did this yesterday. Is it the right action for today and tomorrow? How do we become aware of a beautiful head? Because we like to learn, we like to create, we like to understand, we like to reason, we like to predict, we like to judge. That's when your head brain is in charge. And there's 2 things the heart and gut doesn't have. That is words, the language we're talking now, and it has time. Hence, why coaching can be done for almost therapy issues. Here where we say therapy is diving into the past and actually solving the past. We coaches love to solve actually the future or the present, because the heart and the gut always live in the present. You can solve the past because they always live in the present. And that's beautiful. It doesn't mean you can do everything, but you can do massive things. So this is there. What are the strengths and pitfalls of them? What's the mindset of the gut? And that's really important to know. It likes to have success and achievements. If you like to have something done, you have to follow your gut. If you like to put the extra mile in there, your gut is there. It provides the cortisol, the energy to do so. What's the pitfall? It always thinks I succeed. Gut is intuitive intelligence. Also, it's true, but what we call about intuition, most times is connected with the gut, but your heart is also really intuitive. And so if you think about how does the heart and gut come aware of what's happening outside, it's a sensing system, most times based on energy systems. You could call there, you can even put quantum physics in there and quantum biology. Research shows, and say in my book, in the research section, you come aware of Dr. Pop, who did a research actually about how we communicate with energy. Elsa, what is your question? Elsa,
Yeah,
Kordaha Fateh, if I could say correctly.
Kordahi. I was going to say gut is intuitive intelligence, brain, oh, it seems to me like brain is analytical intelligence, and heart emotional intelligence. But actually, I stopped because I realized that emotional intelligence is also in the head brain. Emotions are not from the heart. A lot of time we see infographics like emotional intelligence is linked to the heart, which is not effectively true. So
it's right. You're right. If you think about when we talk about the emotions or emotional, we think a lot of times about the heart because it's connecting with other people. But if you think about smartness, the gut brain is also extremely emotional intelligent because it knows how to manipulate people to get its way. So it's not emotional intelligent in a positive way, as you would say, but it's extremely smart in a quote, quote, manipulative way.
They're all interconnected. They're all actually interconnected.
Yeah, they're interconnected.
Analytical, it's just for the brain.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they are intuitive and emotional intelligent from their own perspective. The gut brain knows exactly how to manipulate somebody to get his or her way. The heart brain is emotional intelligence, but it knows how to connect, what are good or right, how to stay into the boundaries to stay connected. Our beautiful head is emotional intelligence because it knows based on experience what is right when you should up and when you should talk. So there are three different ways how they are emotionally intelligent. And if we use them all three, we become smartasses. Now, what's the issue with the gut brain? It's their vulnerability. They have an issue with actually saying sorry or losing. And the other fear they have is losing. Because the gut brain is winning or losing. There is no gray. It's having dinner or not having dinner. Is getting my prey or not getting my prey. Is becoming number one or becoming number two. There is no gray in that part. Now, they will do everything to become number one. And that is great unless you like to work in a team. And so they're emotionally intelligent to win. Now, if you think about the heart, bonding and staying together. It's about you succeed. That's why our coach is so amazing. If you think about it, the question we did, it's all about we're going to talk with the team. It's about them. And while the gut brain just would say it's about me, so production is the most important, sack those old people. Done. Yeah, absolutely, Gemma. It's a beautiful thing you say there. If you look at development and if we are born, actually, research shows that when we are born, we originate almost from the tummy. And the beauty is, if you think about it, where is our little toddler connected with mommy when they are in the belly of mommy? Where is the connection cable? Like an avatar in the end of their head or somewhere else? Now you just have to look underneath your nipples and you see somewhere a little knot, and then we call that belly button. Yes, belly to belly. So we are connected from the resource of food. And that's the first part that gets developed as we are born. From there, the heart, the head, the spinal cord is developed. And if you think about, say, we are going later on, survival is for the little one the most important. That means two things. I need food, nutrition, and a new diaper, and I need that my parents still love me. So they're heart and gut oriented totally. And they wake you up 6 times in the night that you feel totally deprived. And when you like to say something to them in the morning, they give you a big, beautiful smile that you love them again. And so they have both intuitive things. Paulina A, I know her from yesterday. She doesn't have her camera on. Paulina, good to see you.
Hi, I will
Hey,
turn on
see
the
you.
camera now,
Hey.
but before I go down to the school to pick up my son. But I have a question. Yesterday when we were speaking, you mentioned that people that they have the gut, they tend to be, they have more gut brain, they tend to be narcissistic.
Yes, and I still stay
Then
with that.
what prevents, and now you're saying that kids, they start by developing first the gut and then the brain and the heart.
Yeah.
So what prevents those toddlers from growing the heart and mind, and they stay in the only gut brain to become, when they grow up, narcissistic people?
Now, if you look at it, say, when we are born, our heart is fully developed. Our gut is fully developed. Our head is not fully developed. So your heart and gut are totally in place.
Okay.
To become a narcissistic personality, besides the genes, there is actually the secure attachment philosophy on there. Secure attachment is not an official DSM-5 psychology disorder, although they like to put it in. Secure attachment is actually that your parents or your caregivers are secure and predictable in all their actions. And based on the predictability, you have an quote normal bonding with your caregivers or parents. When that does not happen, the research shows you have 3 kind of outcomes. One, you become the narcissistic bully. Secondly, you become the anxious victim of the bulliers. Or the third one, you become totally messed up, and your primary hobby is to go to psychologist or take some ecstasy. Of course, I make it now again much more stronger than it is. But say a lot of besides the gene set, the egocentric narcissism comes from an insecure attachment, and their way to solve it is actually to push everybody away and keep actually it all to themselves. There's a beautiful, I call it beautiful. There's on Netflix, there is a documentary about Donald Trump. It doesn't mean if you like him or don't like him, but there's a famous sentence in there that struck me. His mom is getting interviewed and said, his dad, the dad of Donald Trump and the kids, was always putting competition out there, and that sorted out that Donald Trump, on one moment, glued together all the little toys of his older brother, so his older brother could not play with it anymore and became him. But if you look at the family system, it was a totally dysfunctional organization or family, where the dad was extremely pushing competition in between the kids, and not a warm thing. So to become loved by your dad, you had to be doing A, B, C, D, what they call conditional love. Okay. You are if you do.
So the presence of unconditional love in family will help the kids to develop the brain and the
Absolutely.
Another thing, since we are aware of that, everyone says there is no way to fix or to deal with a narcissistic personality. But since we are aware of all of these things, we cannot use them to help a narcissistic personality be aware that he is a narcissistic, and we can deal with that.
Yes, we can, but yes, we cannot. We can bring the horse to the water. We cannot force them to drink. So that means only if they want help, they can change. We cannot change them if they don't want. And
That's
that's the pity, say, with highly narcissistic personalities, because they don't want to have help in many cases. Because they push.
they don't accept that they are like that. But
Yeah, because
if we do that,
because their biggest fear is vulnerability. A real highly narcissistic personality does not trust and will not put his or her life in the hands of somebody else. So based on the lack of vulnerability, they have an issue to getting help. So the only way to help them is to create an extremely safe environment so they are willing actually to become a little bit vulnerable and dare to do a self-assessment. So, but do as always, let's go on, otherwise I cannot finish my slides and we miss some beautiful information.
thank you so much.
So the heart brain likes to succeed. What's the biggest issue of the heart brain is rejection. And so our biggest fear as humans is rejection, because if we were rejected as a little kid, we would never survive. And the punishment in most parents' households is go back to your room. The biggest punishment in a jail or in a prison is actually getting isolation. And because we know it deprives us from actually the joy of somebody else. Having said that, when we spoke about fear, we have three kinds of fear. We have a fear of survival, a fear of rejection, and we have for the head brain also a fear of mistakes. And all of them could create actually anxiousness. So all of them could spark up the gut brain to be anxious, because we are an integrated system. So when we talk about anxiousness, it's not only gut brain. Yes, the gut brain is active in that, because it has to release the cortisol, the adrenaline, and neuroperipherinus. But it doesn't mean it's the root cause. Based on a huge fear of rejection or a huge fear of making mistakes, we could become anxious. And then we come back to Pauline. Unconditional love is one of the root causes of anxiousness. Because we are not good enough until we do something. Fear of success, so the imposter syndrome a little bit, is also part of all of them. You could say it's gut brain, heart brain, because fear of success is actually connected with the imposter syndrome. I'm not allowed, I'm not worthy to have it. So it's about your self-esteem. Self-esteem is partly connected with your gut brain, but it's also heart brain, because it could feel you got rejected if you're successful. And because you're not part of the tribe anymore. So it's not always so simple as it looks like. We have to sometimes become aware what is really what is the symptom, what is causing it. But we can still do it in the present. Now, how can we overcome that fear? I would say the jokey answer is follow my training, because I cannot give and that's not because I like to have you my training, but I cannot give you the answer now so easily. The easy thing to answer is getting rid of our limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, people will find out I'm a fraud, I have to be strong, I have to please everybody, I have to have always a 10. And so the beliefs we do, and the beliefs can be coming from, say, our normal education of the peer groups we are in, or it can come from highly impactful events, what we experienced in lives. So they are connected to a coping mechanism in that part. And so they can be gut-brain oriented, or coming for, or heart-brain oriented. Now there are some beautiful techniques to release that. But that is really in the training. I'm not going to explain it now because I don't have time. And explaining it actually, and will say, oh, Chris, that is too easy to be true, because if I would show you the script to do it for belief systems is 2 pages. The script with, say, highly impactful events is 4 pages. If you read it, and if I read it by myself, I think it's too easy to be true. This cannot happen. The truth is, if you do it, and we're sitting, say, in a space where we have the total trust and safety, magic happens. Because it's a combination of constellation, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, coaching, and all the kind of stuff, how it works if it's in the present. So, sorry for giving that answer. Yesterday, I skipped this slide shortly, but I will stand a little bit longer with it now. McKinsey said we have 4 traits that makes us successful as a coach, or as a leader, as a person. And that means we have to solve problems effectively. Hence, we need a head brain. And of course, we need a heart and gut for the long term. Just like you said earlier in that little exercise, we have short term and long term. Short term, you need your head brain. That's the most important. For long term to embed, you need the other ones. You always need 3. You need to operate with strong results orientation. You need to achieve. That makes sense. That means you need your gut brain. That gut brain is achievement. Of course, you need your head and your heart brain for long-term embedding it. The third one, they say, is meaning you need to seek different perspectives. And it means you need your heart brain, because you have to step into somebody else's ideas, feelings, emotions, thought processes. And Paulina, I will come back to you after I finish this slide. And of course, your head brain and gut brain have to be there for long-term steps. The skin is... I love that answer question, Livia. Do you think the skin is a brain too? I will give the answer after this slide. Otherwise, I really mess up my own structure. The last one is supporting others. And again, you need your heart brain for there. Because supporting others means is to really come aware what are their needs. And of course, you need your head and gut brain there to do that. It means we need a holistic approach of all the 3 brains. Paulina raised her hand. I will first give the answer to Livia. Yes, we have 7 kilos of skin. So you could say it's the largest organ. The beauty of the organ is it does not have a memory system. If you look to the fascia, what they say, the fascia structures, that is the little skin we have around every organ, every muscle, yes, that has a memory system. Because a nerve ends in the fascia and never in the muscle. In the fascia, there is a structure that say the neurotransmitters can flow through it. If we have, say, a trauma release or trauma experience, neurotransmitter P, so really the P of Papa, is released. And there's a lot of research about from where does it really release. Now then, there's a lot of answers and not answers on it. But when it's released, it changes the structure of the fascia. You could say it becomes more fixed, a hard spot. And that hard spot, if you do yoga or massage it or do other things with it, it triggers actually the memory system. So you could say the fascia has a memory system, although no, it is not memorizing it, but is triggering the memory. The skin does not. Having said that, the skin is extremely important, just like every other organ. But it does not have a memory system per se. Well, the same as
Thank you.
The same as the reproductive organs, although we men say, yes, they think by itself, they don't think by itself. Also, your reproductive organs don't have a memory system by themselves. They're still reconnected from the gut brain. Paulina, do you have a question? Because I was answering another question. Not?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't know if still my hand is raised up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm driving.
Okay, it's all good. So change is stopped by so we can blame actually our own system. It's stopped by that. So I showed it yesterday, I think, because I'm now also messed up in my own brain. This is the most famous picture we use in psychology. And we all know there are 2 ladies in there, old lady, young lady. And that's actually how our short-term memory works. 40% of our energy is used by our 3 brains. That means we have 60% left for all the others. So if you know there are 2 ladies in here, and probably you can see them easily, then the question is, say there are 2 birds in here. Where are they? And then you really have to start thinking. Then you really have to put a lot of energy in there. And if you don't know, It's in the bottom part. This is a bird. This is the beak. This is the head. And now a lot of people say, oh yeah, maybe far-fetched, but oh yeah, could be. And the other one is that this is the beak and this is an eye. You could also say it's far-fetched, but if you have a little bit of creativity in your own mind and don't look at all the details, you could say, hey, wow, it could be in there. And the moment you know, it becomes the law of association, so you know it now. Now, what's the beauty of this? In our life, only when it's highly important, we use actually the other part, and that is high energy mode. Only when survival is at stake, rejection is at stake, or really mistakes are at stake, then we can put high energy in there. Otherwise, our body says, let's not waste any energy on this. And every time you see a traffic light, you're not going to think, what does the green light means actually? What does the red light means actually? Hey, we just accept and think and believe that it's the same in our country as in another country. If you go to McDonald's, KFC, or one of those, or Starbucks, in another country, you don't think, well, the Starbucks here will be exactly the same as in my country. Will it also make coffee? Unless you're in Amsterdam, a coffee shop is rather safe that it's the same things. In Amsterdam, a coffee shop means something else. But the Starbucks in Amsterdam still is the same as a Starbucks in New York, Madrid, or Bangalore. Maybe they have some little different flavors, but still the same. And that's the eco mode. And so, what does it mean when I show you this little cup? What kind of cup do you think it is? And I will just give you a comparison of the size. Now, most people would say this is a coffee cup because it's small. I'm not going to show you what kind of brand it is because still coffee is in there, and then I know I will mess up my computer. But who of you had ever had this specific cup in his or her hands? This is a crusette. Crusette is from those big iron cast pans. Almost nobody had this cup in his or her hands. And still you know what it is. This is the law of association. Even though you don't know exactly, it looks like a cup, it has the size of a cup, it has a little ear there, so probably it is a cup. And done. No energy lost on that. That's why change doesn't happen to us and to clients. Because changing your belief in that slide I showed about A, B, C, D takes a lot of energy because you have to challenge your own belief systems. You have to challenge your own systems. And it takes a shitload of energy, excuse my French. So we don't do it. It's easier to stay in the old way because that does not cost any energy. That happens to us, it happens to our clients. And it's totally normal. So we as coaches have to assist our clients to get into the high energy mode, to create an importance that they are willing to change. And that's not only logic, because this one says mistakes, but this one says, if it's still good for my bonding, why would I? If the gut brain says it's still good for my survival, why would I? We have to become aware, hey, maybe for your bonding, maybe for your survival, this is really needed. Because if your gut brain or heart brain says, oh shit, it's needed for my bonding or for my survival, it happens in a second. Well, somewhere we have to assist the client and we have to become aware which brain is talking. Now, that's where we come to be. Short little one, but stops change. The three different things. Makes sense. They're respectively loyal to biology, first 7 years, failure or pain. And this is a little bit an addition on yesterday. If your one brain is too dominant, this happens to us as coaches or leaders. We will become micromanagers, we fall in perfectionism, we're process and system focused, we take the safe route, we love perfectionism, and so it can take too long, and there's no passion connected to it. The average engineer or IT professional working. Hey, by the way, when I had my surgery, I loved the head brain surgeon, who was a perfectionist. I loved that he was a perfectionist in my surgeon. Really loved that. I would never have loved to have a gut brain person to do that surgery on me. A heart brain person will say, I deliver gold, but I get paid silver. That's the average coach. That is why the business is not running good enough. They work too hard and don't dare to ask the price for it. They're pleasers, so they say, oh yeah, of course I will do that, client. The client says, can you do also this for me? Of course. And we don't say, by the way, that is 5 hours extra, 5 hours, 400 euros, 2,000 euros extra. We're avoiding the hard topics, so we discuss it with the client. We can have dissolution because other ones away with our IDs. We don't dare to give really critical feedback. And if you're a gut brain dominant, you will have a controlling behavior, because controlling means you're safe. You're too pushy because do it my way, I'm still safe. Focus on short term, because gut brain just thinks in present. Power driven, because then I'm in charge. They're joy driven instead of happiness, because the gut brain, you need oxytocin to feel happiness. The gut brain doesn't have oxytocin. So the gut brain does not feel happiness, it can feel satisfied. There's a huge difference. Satisfied means eating half a jar of Ben & Jerry's, drinking some glasses of wine with next to it, and maybe have some nice cheese or chocolates. That is satisfied. But you're not happy, especially because all of them combined is not healthy. They could feel lonely because they don't make friends. And they're lying about themselves that they're happy. That's what happens if they're there. So now in the solutions, how do we change it? Now, there's a beauty of all of this. We can become aware in the language which brain is talking. Hence why my book is called like that, Which Brain is Talking. Just like in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where they talk about visual, inner dialogue, kinesthetic, you can talk here about actually head, heart, or gut language. Because just imagine and say, I cannot digest this idea of you, Sylvia. Then which brain is talking? I cannot digest it, so Monique knows right away that's your gut talking. And I say, I cannot wrap my heart around it. It really feels not good for everybody. Then I think it's a no-brainer that our heart is talking. And if we don't know what to do, and it doesn't make sense what we just proposed, somewhere their head is talking. So we can become aware in the language the client is using, which brain is talking to the topic on that moment. And I see Elsa has her fingers like this, so I don't know if it's now a question or something else, because this icon, I don't know anymore, Elsa.
I'm learning a lot from you, but
Okay.
it seems like
That's great to hear. So in our analysis, we can analyze actually which brain is supporting the change, which brain is actually protecting it based on the old learnings it had, based on all the coping mechanisms, based on all the belief systems we have. I said, no, we don't go there. We did it already for 40 years like that. We're not going to change. And based on that, we can ask actually, how are you dealing with it now? Come aware which brain is also working there. And maybe which brain is silent. And so it could be just say, no, it makes sense to do this. I actually get energized about it and I like to succeed. Now, why don't you do it? I don't know. Something is stopping me. Because which brain was not talking? The heart brain. So we have actually then to ask the heart brain, what's happening? What do you need? What is blocking you? Say you could talk, what would you say? And all those kind of things to become aware, can we activate the heart brain? Because on that moment, to become aware, most times the silent brain is the blocker. What's happening? So if I make an example about that, and this is a real life coaching I once did, and I still love it because it was so obvious. So the CEO asked, it's now end of the last year, to one of the managers who's the director of of a business unit, I want you to take the project about IE, artificial intelligence. It's really important for the existence of a company, she thinks. and you're the most knowledgeable about it, the most experienced person. What do you think? Are you in? It would mean he would have to leave his current job and become full-time project leader. Okay, Lynn, you can have the recording and you get the slide back, by the way. So all good. So he would lose his old job, would become full project manager of that. So he WhatsApped me, I think 10 minutes later after I had the talk with the CEO and says, Chris, I have to talk to you quick, urgently. And I said, when? He said, tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. I said, what time? I'm Spanish. We in Spain at 7 o'clock are still sleeping. We're digesting the food of our dinner of 10 o'clock the evening before. He said, Chris, cut the crap. You're Dutch originally. 7 o'clock it is. I thought, okay. 7 o'clock, my hair's still standing straight up because I will take the shower after you. I chat to him and he says, Chris, this is urgent. This is what my CEO asked me. I said, okay, what's the issue? He said, the stakes are extremely high, Chris, because everybody talks about IE, but there is no really success in IE so much. And if it really is useful for our company, I don't know. So if I fail, it could damage my career massively because my old job is gone. So then I'm project leader of a project that fails. That's not really good on my CV, resume, and maybe I get sacked. I got a beautiful house and 3 kids, Chris. Okay. You mean a beautiful mortgage? Is it a high mortgage, Chris? Okay, got it. He says, and by the way, the project team is already almost set up. They're beautiful people, but they need me. And I think half of the project team is really not suited for the job. They should get out. I don't like to be the messenger. That doesn't feel good to me. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't like to fire people. That's not me. Okay. And I said, okay, I know why you don't like to do it. So say no. He said, no, Chris, it makes sense that I take this project. It's my passion. I love it. I know the most about it. Of course, it makes sense I should say yes. Okay, now I understand your dilemma. He said, how are you on this moment? It's 7:15. How are you? He said, Chris, don't ask me. I didn't sleep the whole night. I was twisting, turning. My partner said, why don't you sleep on the couch? And she only says that a few times in our marriage up to now. So it means I was really not the nicest person. And I'm avoiding the CEO. Do you know that she already WhatsApped me twice this morning? 6 o'clock, 6:30, if I had an answer. Crazy workaholic. Okay. So if you now look at this story, those 4 topics, I'm going to ask you the question, which brain is talking? In sentence 1, which brain is talking? You can put it in the chat or just blur it out loud. You don't get, I will not say it's wrong. Gut, Greg, 10 points for you. Gut, heart, head. Gamma, you like to right away give all the answers. You're a little beautiful perfectionist. Totally right. The first one is the gut. The second one is the heart. The third one is the head. So beautifully said. And the fourth one is actually also the gut. So based on that analysis, we can actually step into the coaching because logically, we don't have to solve the issue. It's not about logic. It's actually about emotions, feelings, belief systems. He had a belief system about firing people. So we had to work on that part of rejection. By the way, his short-term solution was that he would ask the CEO to clean up the project team before he would step in. The feeling is there, and if you, Laura, but the feeling was actually, is the feeling about rejection or is the feeling about survival? The first one was the short-term solution that he would ask 2 of the executive board members to be sponsor of this project. Because if they are sponsor, we would not fail, and even if we fail, I keep my job, because they are partly responsible. I didn't solve his anxiety feeling of failure because he had something like an underneath hidden thing. He was afraid of failure. So we worked and coached on that later, but the short-term solution was there. And then he actually could breathe out. He said, oh, Chris, okay, so I have a solution for my anxiousness. I got a solution actually for, I don't like to fire people. Okay, I'm going to WhatsApp right away, the CEO, I'm in. And by the way, I'd like to talk to you the next 3 months about how I could manage this better, because these are serious topics that I will have to fire people sooner or later. I like to know how I can do that. And I like to work actually on my fear of failure, because it doesn't make me sleep good. So we coached that later, but we could find the solutions there. That is in essential how 3-brain coaching works. For that, you need to do a great analysis. And what we most coaches of us fail is actually do a good analysis. And I saw this also this morning when I was mentoring, supervising the person. We are so used to right away step in coaching before we do a good analysis. Which brain is talking? And as I learned as a commercial engineer who worked in IT for a couple of years and make software, if you do a wrong analysis, you make wrong software. First, you have to do an analysis and then do the next step. So in our coaching, what we should change is really make an analysis. What is happening? Which brain is talking, which brain is silent? And from there, start coaching. And then the solution almost falls out in 1 to 3 seconds. Now, in the last 5 minutes, because this was some of the time we had, I came aware, 3 brains leading is actually using all 3 of them. It means aligning your 3 brains. If you're too much heart brain, you burn out. If you're too much gut brain, you get kicked out. If you do nothing, you're in a stuck spot and probably just get chronic disease. So you need all 3 of them. That means learn the language of the 3 brains, have an awareness which brain is talking, have an awareness which brains are misaligned based on belief, habits, or trauma, and therefore don't like to talk about it, and be able how to work on that, and meaning unblock the brains that are actually having that misalignment. And we can do that as coaches, because they work in the present, heart and gut. And then have consensus about the 3 brains, and your client walks away and say you're the best coach ever. Have a dialogue among them. Yes, you have to have a dialogue, but they must be able to have a dialogue. Because most people say, oh, my feelings are the best indicator. But if you're traumatized, your feelings are probably the worst indicator. If you have extremely strong beliefs, probably your feelings are also not the best indicator. Yeah. So you have to be aware what is actually misaligning me. So I'll make the last question. If you have a compass, you know, north and south in a compass or in a magnet, positive charge, negative charge, the moment you put something next to it, another magnet, it moves. And this is what happens with a lot of people, because we are all somewhere more or less misaligned based on our beliefs or the things we happened in life. If we're not aware of them, we follow actually the wrong compass and we end up somewhere else. Yes, what each brain needs from each other, absolutely, Macarena. In our solutions, it is asking what do they need from each other to work together. It's a lot of need questions. What do you need? We have to get there. To wrap up, if you like to follow this and learn it, do the amazing training. Yes, my webinar at 5 is talking about the biology. So it's actually before this, why do the 3 brains are really there? So we dive into the proof of the 3 brains. If you like to follow the training, €200 less. The dates are in May and in September. If you have questions, please ask them. The cheapest way is just to buy my book. €9 or €8 on Kindle is an easy way. If you like to know which brain is dominant of you, you can do the test. And I love to stay connected with you in the future somewhere.